Hey there, UNLV fans. I'm your host, Cassie Soto, and this is Rebel Nation. As always, I'm joined by Rebels beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Mark Anderson. Mark, thanks for stopping in today.
Thank you, Cassie.
Well, usually 13 is the notorious unlucky number,
Right.
but it's been 17
Yes.
for the Rebels. Back-to-back-to-back losses, all coming from 17 points for the Rebels. Who put the bad juju on this team?
That is weird, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised they lost these 3 games. You figured they're underdogs every game, right? But it just the land on the same number, and each game was kind of similar in that it was actually felt like it was worse than 17.
Yeah.
And it was for long stretches. I mean, like the UNR game, they led by 22 at halftime, and it felt like they were just trying to run the clock out the second half just to get out of there.
Yeah.
So they go to Utah State over the weekend, and it's a similar thing. Utah State takes like a 26-point lead or something. So it's just, but the fact they all landed 17 is just crazy.
And a lot can be attributed. We're obviously halfway through the conference season now. We're middle of the pack here. A lot can be attributed to them not being able to compete with top-tier teams. You look at the shooting, 45%. Less than 45% coming from the Rebels in all 3 games. Why can't the Rebels get shots up, I guess is the easiest way to ask it.
Well, they're playing better defenses now.
Okay.
And it's just as simple as that. I mean, they're having more hands in their faces. They take shots. They're not getting all those open threes they were getting before.
Yeah, you don't even want to look at the 3-point statistics right now.
No, when before they were the hottest three-point shooting team in the conference. But yeah, they're also playing San Jose State and teams like that. Now you're playing UNR, Utah State, San Diego State. At Boise Wednesday night. It's a little different. Fresno comes here on Saturday. This is a tough stretch. So yeah, now we're seeing really where this team stands.
Yeah. Well, you recently came out with an article that was pretty straightforward on if Marvin Menzies is going to be sticking around at UNLV. You can find that, shameless plug, reviewjournal.com. Go ahead and check Mark's article out. So I'll just ask you, do you think they keep him around after this season?
I don't know. It is a question right now, and it really depends how the season ends. And if they get it together down the stretch and play really well and show that the program's in the right direction, there's hope for the future, he'll be back. But if they struggle down the stretch, maybe go out first round in the conference tournament, there's questions about really where the program's going, he's in real trouble. So I can't say for sure he's coming back or not. It's only that it's a question at this point.
Well, hope in basketball season has kind of dwindled, so let's go ahead and we'll jump into football season. The Mountain West Conference recently coming out with the 2019 football schedule. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. It'll be the final season that the Rebels play at Sam Boyd Stadium, and the first time in 7 years that they have 2 consecutive home games. Let's go ahead and look at this, Mark. What are you thinking? Are they finally going to be bowl eligible is the real question.
Well, I can tell you this, we'll find out early.
Yeah.
Because that schedule, once you get to Northwestern on September 4th, even Arkansas State here is far from an easy game. But Arkansas State loses its quarterback. It's not quite the same Arkansas State team they faced over there last season. But once you get to Northwestern, that's a gauntlet. Northwestern, September 14th through San Diego State, October 26th. Those 6 games are going to determine the schedule. And how they do in those games, we'll say whether they have a real shot at the bowl. If they come out fine, they got a great shot because their final stretch is not the most difficult. It's not the easiest, but those are definitely winnable games in November. Yeah,
well, hopefully that's San Jose State more winnable. They dropped the ball. Only win San Jose State got last year coming to the Rebels was at 50-37. I think I wrote down that was a rough one. So hopefully they get that one back, if anything.
That was still hard to explain.
Right?
I don't know. I mean, and not that UNLV was struggling at the time. They're in their backup quarterback. They had a lot of things going against them, and they're secondary with all these injuries. I think that was sort of timing and also on the road. For whatever reason, they always lose at San Jose State. I don't know why, but they always lose there. But when they get San Jose State here, they do well, generally speaking. So, you would think that's the game they should win. But one thing I've learned about UNLV football over the years, you can always count on 1 or 2 games that they lose that they shouldn't, and 1 or 2 games that they win that they shouldn't.
Yeah, so San Diego State, that one.
Yeah, San Diego State. So I think I'm done with trying to break down the schedule and trying to figure out where the wins and losses are because you just don't really know.
It's like basketball. I mean, you just take it as it comes, I guess. You can't really – the predictions are there in the preseason, but, I mean, at the end of the day, anything could happen, really.
Well, that's the great thing about sports, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what makes it interesting is you don't really know in the end.
Right. Well, what we do know is a familiar face is coming back to UNLV. Biagio Ollie Wash will be returning. Huge standout for Bishop Gorman. Under Tony Sanchez at the time, the Gales went an astronomical 45-0 in the season. In his 3 seasons there, he rushed for just over 4,500 yards and 65 touchdowns. Mark, even though it'll be likely that he sits out the first season there, how much potential can he and will he bring to the UNLV program?
It's interesting because he's got talent. Right? He was the Player of the Year, State Player of the Year, his senior season. But he went to Cal. You know, he had some struggles up there. Had trouble getting on the field, which is why he left. Well, that's probably why he left.
Yeah.
So he's walking on at UNLV. So what that tells you is UNLV wants to see what they have from him before they rush to give him a scholarship. My suspicion is he'll get a scholarship eventually, probably even next fall, right? And then he'll have every chance in 2020 to prove that he's the running back they thought he could be. You know, and talent like that you don't turn down, and it could be an incredible move for them. You see it all the time where a player, it doesn't quite work out like at a Power 5 school. They go down to a Group of 5 school and they do really well, and maybe that's the case for him.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you as always for your insight. We'll see you back next week.
Sounds good, Cassie. Thanks.
Well, we do have to wait a few more months for football, but for now, you can catch the Runnin' Rebels on the road to take on Boise State in a late night matchup on Wednesday at 8 p.m. You can catch that on ESPNU. For Mark Anderson, I'm Cassie Soto. Thank you for watching Rebel Nation.